but I'll share some of my own experience. I'm a white male. I was raised in Mississippi. The center of our town was called the Tree. It was popular because the trees were in the middle of this town. They were very old trees, and there had been lynchings that had taken place in those trees. Black people were not allowed to move to this area. My parents moved to there for that reason. I was raised a racist. The elementary school I went to, my fourth grade teacher, who was also the assistant principal, used the N-word in class pretty much every day to describe black people. And then they start consolidating, and so that's the way I was raised. So I'm gonna tell you, I was scared of black people. By the way, this is racial profiling. If you're in a red Dodge truck, white male, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're always drunk. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is, okay? So, but back to well, I do have a confession to make about your safety. I don't care about your safety. I'm saving my own life. when you're trying to kill me, I'm worried about me, okay? So.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the Haitian Kings Podcast. Today we got Steve Thompson with us, like a Swiss Army knife. The man used to be a former LA trooper, a current flight attendant instructor, and a skydiver instructor, and also he teaches at McNeese also as a professor. And is there anything else I'm leaving out? Because I don't want to cut you short.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, well, once again, man, welcome to the show. How you doing? Finally.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's been a good time so far.
All right, I'm glad you had fun, man. But let's start from the very beginning. Who is Steve Thompson? Like, give us a little bit of your background, your upbringing, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, started we'll call it in the trailer park, and born in New York, but moved to the South at a very young age, and grew up pretty poor, and then moved to Mississippi. Grew up in the South. That's why I pretty much still have a Southern accent, and got the age to join the military. High school didn't work out too well for me, so I'm a 9th grade dropout, and but went and got my GED and started college, and that wasn't, it was going to take me a while. I was working in a factory and, doing my best, but I ended up getting a call from an Army recruiter who said, hey, we'll pay for your college. You just got to join the Army. So I agreed to join the Army and did 6 years total, 1 year deployment to Bosnia, non-combat. So I have a patch on the right shoulder. The military veterans listen will understand that. And then needed a job after getting out of the military. I was stationed at an Army base here in Louisiana at Fort Polk, now renamed Fort Johnson. And then I always wanted to be a cop, because I saw the power that police had, and I wanted to use that for good. And so I became a Louisiana State Trooper, and I did that while continuing to work on my educations, and got a associate's, master's, bachelor's, and a PhD. And not long after, I had a great career with the state police. Loved being a law enforcement officer, but I thought, one victim at a time, one suspect at a time, maybe it's time to turn this into teaching. And I started teaching, retired from the state police, and got a full-time professorship at McNeese State University, where I'm a criminal justice professor, and been doing that for a while, since 2013. And I started looking for other avenues to be an entrepreneur as well. And I've always been the Army taught me to skydive, and I became a professional skydiver over the years, jumping into McNeese State University games, the wing air shows, charitable events, and so forth. And I ended up getting interested in aviation. And in 2016, I took my first flight. After that, I opened up after about 2 years, I got all the ratings needed to be a flight instructor. And I ended up buying my own flight school and working there, and still have that going. Me and my wife run that today.
And interesting enough, you had like so many different walk of life, from what you said, military, to being an LA trooper, and to a flight attendant. Not a flight attendant, a flight instructor, mm-hmm. and also now a skydiving instructor. Like, there's so many different backgrounds. Like, there's so many different kind of walk of life. Let's kick back a little bit, at least where you were an LA trooper. You said you were attracted by the power and also wanted to make a difference. Can you like elaborate a bit more on that?
Well, when I was a kid, it wasn't the best life at home. And the police were often a part of our life, but it was never in a good way. And when they came in, they were never there to help. It was always, something bad. And I spent a lot of time in group homes and foster homes and stuff like that. The government would take us away, and most of the time, I was like, wow, this is cool, because every time every time you get taken away by the government, they take you to Walmart and buy you new clothes. Like that was my favorite part, because we had we had shitty clothes. I was in style because the knees of the pants were all ripped, and that was kind of like the style thing. Well, mine weren't ripped because of style. Mine were ripped because they were just worn out. But that was the only benefit that I had from style. But that was a good thing, as far as getting taken away. But it just felt like they were never there to help. And I was thinking, maybe one day I'll get the chance to be in that position, and I'll keep my eyes open, and I'll actually help. I'll actually make a difference, And then, so I wanted that, and in Bosnia, and that was, in the military, you're either at war or you train for war. And I served in peacetime, so my job was to train for war. And but we got the opportunity to go stop a war in Bosnia, and there's kids that need to be fed and stuff, and I'm stealing all kind of food from the base camp, and I take it out on every time we roll out of the outside the wire, and I'm giving them water and candy and food and everything I can to the kids. And I was like, I really enjoy that, we'll say, public service and helping people. And I thought, but I want to be a law enforcement officer, not only be able to help good people, but I want to hurt bad people. I enjoy it. I like it. I want to do it. I still do it. And without the power of the badge, it's difficult to do. And so I use that to my advantage, to hurt bad people, put them in jail, we'll call it, or make their life, make them regret that they did the things that they did, but also help good people, or protect victims that are scared of those.
And I'm glad that you said that. Also, like a conversation we kind of have off camera was kind of like, and also you were saying, being as an instructor, you help your student mix the difference between good and bad people. And I'm sure right now we live in 2025, to where I'm sure anybody that has social media gonna hop on there, gonna see some sort of police brutality stuff going on. And as a former officer yourself, like, how do you differentiate, or maybe how do you help your student differentiate the difference between the good and the bad, to where they don't overuse their power in a bad way?
Well, I have to correct you on one part. I'm not a former cop. I am still a cop.
Oh, didn't know that.
I am. I'm not going to name any agencies, and I'm here acting on behalf of myself, not representing any agency.
I got to put you there. We've been talking about how fast we've been going in the interstate, and then you let me criminalize myself, and now you let me know you're obviously still a cop.
Okay.
Hey, okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
I am still a cop, but I don't care about speeding. I do assist in major investigations cases. I run an aviation unit for a law enforcement agency. Again, I'm not going to say it because that's not what I'm here to talk about or represent of. But I also teach at the police academy. Every law enforcement officer that comes through this area has to go through the police academy, and they have to spend 68 hours with me teaching them the law and when they can arrest people. And there's a large portion, and in addition to university teaching, which my favorite stuff to teach is ethics. So anyway, I'm still a law enforcement officer, and I'm teaching, we'll say, the next generation. And as I was really good at catching bad guys. I've got an America's Most Wanted capture. When they needed somebody caught, I was the guy that you wanted to put on it, and I enjoyed it. And nobody ever got away. And but that was one guy at a time, one suspect at a time, one victim at a time. And I'm thinking, if I take my abilities and experience and I put that into the classroom, and I've been instructing everything from teaching people in the military, how to shoot, how to lead. In state police, I was a SWAT instructor, explosive breaching instructor, police academy instructor with the state police academy instructor, skydiving instructor, and now a flight instructor. I'm good at teaching. And if I could take that and teach 50 students at a time, I truly believe that I can make a bigger difference in the world than one person and just doing the job myself. So that's what I've kind of shifted to focusing on is, how do I make the biggest impact by passing this on to the next generation?
Let me ask you a question. So, as I know, like the whole time you've been like in the law enforcement. So my question I have two part on it. Is that a do they really like profiling people based on their like ethnicity, or is DWB is a thing?
Now that's totally made up. Totally made up. DWA. I'm being sarcastic. I'm a criminologist, so like I try not to make assumptions, but so I have my own biases because what I've experienced. So I'm going to start out with the DWB driving while black investigation on the New Jersey Turnpike.
Okay.
The research at all levels says it's real. If you are black, you are more likely to be stopped. You are more likely to be searched. You are more likely to be arrested. You are less likely to be found with something in your car that's illegal versus a white person. And that take me a long time to explain the statistics, but they're less likely to search a white person, but more likely to find something on a white person, right? White people possess drugs more than black people. Most people don't know that. That's a real statistic. Black people possess it less, but they're searched more. That's just a statistical fact. So DWB, according to the research, is real. But I'll share some of my own experiences. I'm a white male. I was raised in Mississippi. The center of our town was called the Trees. It was popular because the trees were in the middle of this town. They were very old trees, and there had been lynchings that had taken place in those trees. Black people were not allowed to move to this area. My parents moved to there for that reason. I was raised a racist. The elementary school I went to, my fourth grade teacher, who was also the assistant principal, used the N-word in class pretty much every day to describe black people. And then they start consolidating and so that's the way I was raised. So I'm gonna tell you, I was scared of black people, and the N-word was a regular part of my vocabulary up until basically I went to high school, and they consolidated the schools. They integrated them in Mississippi, and I'm not that old, right? I mean, I started high school in the 90s, and I get there, and now there are black people at this school, and we're supposed to be scared to death of them. But lo and behold, they're not scary. And then I joined the military. And of course, I dropped out of high school, but I joined the military, and I become the minority. And now I'm in Bosnia living in a tent, and I'm pretty sure I was the only white guy in a 12-man tent. And in boot camp, it was, 20% white people. I don't know. A lot of minorities joined the military and served this country with honor. And these are people that I put my life on the line with. So I'm going to call it an enlightenment between high school and the military of everything that I was taught as a child was just not true.
So how does that mental shift happen from I'm scared or I hate black people to where now they're not that bad? How does that mental shift happen? Or maybe there's some resonance still in there somewhere, or how, I don't know.
Put two people in a room and black, white, red, brown, or whatever, and make them talk, and you're gonna and they're gonna find common ground and not be not hate each other. And I'll say in today's society, it's so easy to be a racist behind your Facebook keyboard and say the things that they say because there's nobody right there. And it's not just that. It's like, you two guys are kind of, decent sized muscular guys, right? Somebody might call you something on the internet, but in slapping distance,
They won't.
they will shut. They ain't saying shit. Okay. So, but if we're able to just see common ground, if you can just even have differing opinions on someone, it's I think that's all it is. It's just I was in a position. I joined the military and realized, and my closest friends are, I think they were all people of color, in the military, and I'm still in touch with them today. Me and my wife went and visited one of my closest friends in Washington last summer or whenever it was, and anyway, love him like a brother. But we slept together, not literally, but
Okay.
we're in a tent together for years, and you create. It's just a bond. And anyway, it just comes down to eliminating ignorance, and there's a lot of ignorance floating around. But then I leave the Army, and I join the Louisiana State Police, and I get here, and as a white male, you are when it comes to racism and talking about it and hearing about it. I'm a white dude. I'm a fly on the wall. They will say everything. And so they put it out there.
Like what, for instance?
You talked about stopping people, and profiling. By the way, I teach criminal law and when to stop people. And I teach to profile. If you're not profiling, you cannot be a good cop. You just can't. But I'll come back to a type of profiling that I think that is acceptable and legal versus illegal profiling. But some of the troopers that I served with, they would buy these portable radios from Walmart. They're not recorded. You put it on whatever channel you want. It's because police radios are recorded. You key up, you hear a triple chirp, everything you say is recorded. Well, if you get those little portable Motorola's, nobody's listening, nobody's recording, you select what channel. Hey, and they would call each other and say, hey, I got 2 racial slurs in this car coming at you, left lane, make sure to stop them. And that's who they focused on. And the focus was, you need to find minorities, young, rental cars from out of state. And that's what they did all day. 12-hour shift, stopped everybody that they could that met that description. And I straight up asked, I'm like, that's pretty racist. And like, yeah. And I said, but don't we keep, somebody's going to collect stats, or we collect stats on who we stop, who we search and stuff like that, the color of their skin. Like, how do you justify stopping Hispanics and black people 12 hours a day? And this is State Police Troop D, Lake Charles. Oh, that's easy. We make white stops after that. So explain to me white stops. At the 11th hour of the shift, you stop 15 black people or 15 Hispanics. Go stop 5 or 6 white people, pull them over, say, hey, don't weave around in traffic. They don't talk to them. They don't search them. They just say, hey, I stopped you for whatever, and then send them on their way. And they offset the statistics with the white people that they stop. They're not going to search them. They're not going to arrest them. They're not going to question them. It's a strategy. And that was what was going on. If you were black and you were a state trooper, it was acceptable, but the rule was you had to act white. That was the standard. Act white. So we had, I'll name them, Trooper Gary Smith, one of the best troopers you'll ever meet, squared away guy. Love to have him back me up. Theo Chantlin, same thing. All right. But they fit the act white profile according to the white troopers and the white chain of command. And then you switch to Trooper Chris Hill. And sorry, Chris, if you're listening, I'm throwing you under the bus. But Chris Hill came out of the academy, but he didn't dress. He was raised in New Orleans, and he dressed in a way that was conducive to or consistent with his style. Baggy black shirt, gold chain, and basically regular size fitting pants. And I know, I tell you, people here hate when your pants are around your ass and you're showing your underwear. He didn't do that. He wasn't that, but he didn't dress in skin tight Wranglers like the lieutenant who was criticizing him for it. And because they saw him off duty dressed like that at a state police area, and I looked at the guy, and like I said, he's a sharp-looking guy, squared away, great trooper, joined the SWAT team. I trained him to be a SWAT operator and trusted this man to go into a house with me, and I got to go left. And if there's a guy shooting at me from the right, I want to shoot him, but I can't. I got to clear this corner. But I know Chris Hill's behind me, and he's going to button hook, and he's going to take out that threat that's shooting me in the back. But I got to check here before I can swing around. And I trusted that man with my life. And they had a meeting because of the way he was dressed. And the sergeant came out of the captain's office, and he said, hey, got word from the captain. Run that N-word off, because he failed to act white. He didn't dress white.
And so let's put everything in perspective. What year are we talking about?
2003.
So you think like
2003 to 2005, give or take.
So would you say things are
better?
better now? To some extent?
I would hope they're better, but I think the same trooper, Chris Hill, had to file some EOC complaints because the white troopers were in there telling him to put the biscuit down, Django, and stuff like that. And they said, oh, that's just fun, and let it go. Dropped it.
But also another thing you said you were supposed to double back on it. You said as an instructor, it kind of showed, like you kind of want your officers to profile stop. Like, elaborate more on that. Like,
all right. I'm sorry, but you can't be a good cop if you don't profile. That's just the way it is. I train cops all the time. I train them to profile. And I ask them, who's willing to profile? They're like, I'm not profiling. I'm not getting sued or getting called a racist. I say, y'all are missing the point, but criminal profiling is okay. For instance, if you're looking for a serial killer, you got to be looking for a white dude. Just like if you're looking for a hockey player, it's a white dude. All right? That's just the way it is. Now, is that saying you stop every white dude and think he's a serial killer? No. But I guess one of the best examples I use as a state trooper, I led this area in DWI arrest every year I was on patrol. I won the DWI award every single year. And how do you do it? And I had two methodologies. One, stop a lot of cars. Just stop everything. There's a violation, stop them. Write them a ticket, don't write them a ticket. Generally, when I'm looking for a drunk, I'm not writing a ticket. I'm just like, hey, how you doing? This is why I stopped you. This is my probable cause. And when they get out of the car, you know if they're drunk or not, if you know what you're doing. Anyway, so this is my methodology for profiling. I would sit in a well-lit area and I use military methodologies, a military strategy. There's choke points. Everybody's got to go home. And there's 30,000 people living in Moss Bluff. And they're all in Lake Charles partying. And they got to get home at 2 o'clock in the morning. They got to cross a bridge. So the 171 bridge is my favorite place to go. So I would sit in a well-lit area, and every car that went by, I would run a license plate. And I'd run the license plate. And eventually, one of the registered owners of one of those vehicles that I would run at 2 o'clock in the morning would have a history of DWI. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning, prime time, drunk time. The registered owner of this vehicle has a history of DWI. Does that mean he's drunk? Nope. Does that mean I can legally stop him? Nope. But if he gives me a traffic violation, I'm going to stop him. By the way, this is racial profiling. If you're in a red Dodge truck, white male at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're always drunk. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Okay. So, but back to that's just the way it was.
So what's for the black people then?
What's the top? You're like, okay, if this guy got this kind of car, he got weed in there for sure. Like, I'm sure y'all got one. I'm sure y'all got one.
Okay, so but back to the drunk. If they were driving, had a history of DWI with a registered owner, about 60% of those stops were a drunk driver who had done it before and drinking and driving again. So that's how I get them. Now, racial profiling and how's that illegal? When I got to the state police, they had jokes about stopping black people. What do you call a black person driving a Buick Regal? You know, back when Buick Regals were the kind of the deal with spinners on it or whatever. This is a joke that was told to me. What do you call that when you see that? You know the answer?
No.
Probable cause. All right. So go stop that car. They got weed. All right. And I'm guilty of this as well. I decided one day to stop. I was looking for drugs, and so I'm drug profiling. And there's a mentality like you stop a black person in a nice car, and they're going to have drugs. That's just blatant, terrible racial profiling. It's like a black man can have a nice job too, and pay for a nice car. That's just something that should not, that it's evil to think that, oh, he must be a drug dealer, and that's what happened. But I was looking for dope one day, and I didn't like working dope cases, but the dispatcher called me and said, hey, we need to test a new dispatcher and see if she can handle the shitstorm that I am usually associated with. So pursuits or whatever, I said, okay, I'll go find some dope on the interstate. And I was never good at finding big loads of dope. And, but anyway, so I stand out on the interstate and I look at cars go by and I see an old crappy car, white male in the front passenger seat, long stringy hair, tattoos on his chest, and a set of teeth at 70 miles an hour. I could see he had a fucked up set of teeth. So I'm like, that guy's got meth in his pocket. That was racial profiling. That was drug profiling to an extent. So I jumped in the car and I take off because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And that's a traffic violation. That was my probable cause for the traffic stop. So I chase him down and I'm like, how do I get into this guy's pockets? And I teach cops, how do you get into their pockets? How do you get into the car? And I teach some people how to not let them get into the car. And we can come to that later about certain things. But I pulled the guy over and I was like, hey, driver, step out. He's got no shirt on. And I said, hey, I stopped you because you're not wearing your seatbelt. This is to the passenger, the front passenger. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I said, well, go ahead and give me your driver's license or ID card. I'm going to, run you or write you a ticket or whatever I decided to do. But I really just wanted to get into his pockets because I was like, he got meth in his pocket, And anyway, he said, I don't have my ID with me. I said, oh, that's fine. What's your name? He gives me some name, John Smith or whatever it was. I was like, I have no idea if he's telling me the truth or not, but I'm going to run it. But I threw a name back at him. I was like, well, who's Wayne Dillon? I said a name to him. And he looked at me, his eyes got like this big, and he's like, how did you know my name? And I told him, I like pointed down, and he wasn't wearing a shirt. He looked down. He was bold block letters, Wayne Dillon. It was tattooed on his chest. It wasn't his mom's name, So I'm like, he just lied to me on a lawful detention. So therefore, I now have probable cause to arrest him. So I didn't want to arrest him for that, but I'm like, if I arrest him, I get to search his pockets and see if there's the methamphetamine. I was looking for methamphetamine. And of course, I searched him, pulled out of his pocket, and there was a little container there of methamphetamine. And anyway, so I arrested him and sent him to jail.
What if you did all that? What if you was wrong? So then what?
What if he didn't have drugs in his pocket? Then you're turning this into a legal class. Okay, so let's say he didn't have methamphetamine in his pocket. I had the choice at that point to say, you know what? I'm feeling better today. Don't lie to the police no more because that's a crime. On a lawful detention, you can't lie about who you are if you're lawfully detained. And have a nice life and send him on his way without arresting. Unarrest him. Say you're no longer under arrest.
But he couldn't have. So if that happened to anybody, they cannot take any legal action against that police officer?
Absolutely. Every academy cadet asks this. So you should come to the academy. You've got your shit together. So here's my answer to that question. You can sue me for what I did to you, all right? But here's what you have to go to court and say. Your Honor, I committed a crime. He had probable cause to arrest me, and that son of a bitch just turned around and let me go. So the judge is going to be like, well, I need to, okay, he did everything he did was legal, and then he decided to have leniency on you and sent you home. So what are your damages? And so this is a legal strategy that not many people know about. And I teach cops these legal strategies because, if the rules are there and we can use them, we use them. It's just like, in football, you can do the onside kick until they take that away.
But you say, okay, so let's say I give you the wrong name and you assume that, so I didn't give you my ID, right? I give you the ID, I give you the wrong name. Mm-hmm. But that don't give you the right to be in my pocket anyway.
It does because you've committed a crime. And when you commit a crime, you're allowed to be searched incident to that arrest. So I'm allowed to search your pockets, everything in your pockets. I can't search the car.
Okay.
Until I found the methamphetamine. But when I found the methamphetamine, that now gives me probable cause to search the entire car. And that's exactly what I did. And I found a gun. And everybody in the car was a convicted felon.
Mm-hmm. So you win so then after that, you go win everybody's one by one?
Yeah, absolutely. Whole car gets searched piece by piece.
But I gotta also say this though, have you ever? Because I've heard some stories myself or whatever. Have you ever been in a position, let's just say you stop somebody, you can clearly tell they're drunk,
Hmm.
and they get to begging, like, man, that's gonna ruin my career. And then you've checked the record, clearly they've never done it before. Have you ever showed some sort of a leniency towards that one person? I guess you may say that did something done within that moment.
Uh, Again, every year I was on patrol, I won the DWI award because of the numbers, because I had the most arrests. But I will tell you that I probably let 20% of the drunk drivers that I stopped, they were drunk, and I was legally allowed to arrest them. I probably made arrangements for them to get home safely. I never let them drive. Yes, I let people go. Like one kid, I stopped him, and he had just gotten back from Iraq. He'd been a year in Iraq and had a few too many beers and was driving a car. And I called his dad. He said, "My son just got back from Iraq. I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Yeah, I screwed up." And it was going to ruin his military career. And so I get to make a choice. I can either get my tick mark on my DARS and say, and help me win that DWI award, or I can show compassion. And I did show compassion many, many times. And I exercised my discretion on whether or not to arrest somebody. And one of the things I would consider is, um, are these consequences more severe for this person? Like a nurse is going to lose her license. And so, can I say, as long as I don't, and the rules may be different now, but as long as I don't let that person drive and put the public safety at risk, and I get that person off the road with a tow truck or a licensed driver who's sober, I did that many times, and I stand behind those decisions.
But let me ask you this though, like, because currently right now, not only you're still an officer of the law, you're also an instructor in two different walks of life. You get to instruct people how to fly, and also you get to instruct people how to be the next generation of police officer. But how do you? Because clearly you're selling one people that want to be, I guess you may call them adrenaline junkies that want to fly a plane, jump off a plane, or whatever, and then you get to teach cops how to be cops, which is a whole different world. How do you approach both of them as an instructor?
Um, it's they're both. I instruct and teach people to instruct a certain way, which is to stay positive. But they're both different worlds. And I'll say, in policing, this is a free country. I love this country. I jump out of airplanes and attach a flag to my body and bring it in front of sometimes 250,000 people at an air show, or land in a McNeese Stadium, baseball games, whatever. Um, so many people out there like, oh, I love the flag, and it's that, but that flag is a representation of something else, which is a document known as the United States Constitution. And I'm going to quote a good friend of mine, and if he's listening, he'll know who he is. But there's some people out there who wrap themselves and love that flag, but then they wipe their ass with the Constitution. And so my goal in teaching police officers is to make sure that they understand, that this is a free country and we are policing a free country. And we have rights, and we get to, and you get to take away those freedoms. You don't get to take away the rights. You get to take away somebody's freedom, but it has to be in compliance with those rules. And I teach them how they can do that. Like there's for some reason, there's a major misconception that cops can, and even the local agency, I'm going to call it the biggest municipal agency in the area, is being encouraged by their chief that they can walk into any house or walk and see anybody on the street and pat them down and like touch them. So, I mean, you may be into it, but how would you feel about you or your wife or somebody that you care about, another grown ass man walking up and touching them and they don't want to be touched? So we get to do that as law enforcement officers, but it has to be in accordance with the law. So I have a nickname for these cops that think they can just walk up and touch somebody. And I teach every one of them in the academy. And I say, and now they all know it. That you ask them, say, "Hey, did Steve teach you in the police academy?" They say, "Yeah." I says, "Well, who do you become when you touch somebody that you're not supposed to touch? Like without reasonable suspicion or probable cause?" And it's the nickname for you is Uncle Touchy. You like to touch people who don't want to be touched. And God forbid you touch my wife, my daughter, my son, I'm coming after you.
But I got a question for you though, because you say something like, because when the police come to you for 68 hours, because I sometimes I watch some videos on social media when like some guys that know the law challenging the cop, and sometimes they feel dumb because they don't know. But I would think like somebody's enforcing the law should know the law. So why only 68 hours? I'm thinking like that's something you should be studying, like the Bible. Like you should know it so you don't make. That's why you don't like do some abusive things to people by knowing the law.
But the good news is it was half that. You know, it was like 30 something, and they increased it. Louisiana Post increased it. Louisiana had the lowest training standards and lowest training times as any other state for a while, but now it's much more significant. So that's the good part. And you'll never teach a cop to be a lawyer. You just can't. You know, there'll never be a lawyer, but you can teach a cop a set of rules. And if you simplify it to the point where anybody can understand it, such as I make them chant, they have this, you know, hands down guaranteed, thou shalt not attempt to enforce a law without knowing the elements of the offense. The law is written down. It tells you what you can, it tells you what you can't do. It don't tell you what you can do. So I make several inappropriate references to whatever. You can do whatever you want to with peanut butter. Draw your own conclusions from my statement. But by the end of the academy, they always buy me a big can of peanut butter. But that's another story. But if there's no law against doing it, you're allowed to do it. And so thou shalt not attempt to enforce a law if you don't know the elements of the offense. And the law, they have to write down what you are not allowed to do and the penalty. So as long as you have that, you know, you can understand the law when you can and cannot arrest somebody, you know, how much force can be used and all that. So the rules are actually not that complicated for police officers. And I think 68 hours generally is enough if they listen. Now, I am sad to say that some of the cops that I've trained have ended up in jail. But they didn't listen. They went to their agency, and some of their senior training officers said, yeah, that guy Steve in the academy, don't listen to him. We do things a certain way here. And they've ended up in jail because they don't listen, and they think, oh, we can touch or pat down anybody we want. And that's just sad. I'm trying to overcome that. But I am proud to say, since I've been training, I started doing it in 2013 here. These constitutional auditors that come in, I haven't seen one of our officers fail. They get it right, and I see them. Oh, I'm he's one of the people that I trained, and they respect rights. And I'm going to throw out the Calcasieu Sheriff's Office. They have this mentality that they treat their people like they want their family treated. No, they don't treat a person like it's their mom. Nobody's going to say, Mom, give me your driver's license. That's not going to happen. But if somebody asked their mom for their driver's license and wrote them a ticket or arrested them, we want that person treated the same way we would want our family treated, even if they made a mistake, even if they did something. So, and Calcasieu Sheriff's Office has that mentality, has for a long time. It was part of the old administration with Sheriff Mancuso, and I truly believe that's been passed on with Sheriff Guillory.
So you've been since you've been like an estate trooper, so you spent 20 years, right?
20 years? No, I only did 11 years.
11 years. But since you've been in law enforcement, what is something you do that you was most proud of, and one thing you was more like embarrassed or ashamed of that you did?
Most proud of is easy. I may have a small problem with authority, and anyway, I came across a gun that was left behind in a casino. It was in the lost and found, and nobody wanted to do anything with it, so I started digging into it. Anyway, I spent basically 10 days trying to figure out who left this gun behind, and it was in his luggage, so I had all his paperwork, and nothing came back, fake social security number or whatever. I said, nobody leaves this gun behind, because it wasn't just a regular gun. In fact, if Sheriff Guillory's listening to this, I still want that gun if they'll give it to me. But it was a Colt 1911, 45 caliber competition, the dream weapon that most people
Gold Cup trophy?
Huh? Was
it a Gold Cup or no?
Gold Cup?
Gold Cup trophy, 1911? No?
No, model 1911 45, Colt 45. With a competition trigger, magazine well. I mean, this thing, and loaded, round in the chamber, in a holster with a shoulder with 2 magazines in the shoulder holster. And I was like, nobody leaves this behind. So I started investigating, and I get my butt chewed, told to leave it alone, this, that, and the other. And I was what's the word, insubordinate, and I did it anyway. I put all the work that I was supposed to be doing to the side, and I just focused on that every day. And anyway, finally, I set up a sting operation in Houston. Some guy that he played video games with online, I found an online login. He called him and asked him for money in Houston. I'm a Louisiana state trooper. I don't have any authority in Houston. So I called Houston PD and I called the witness and I set up a sting operation. And I told my chain of command, hey, by the way, I set up a sting operation in Houston. And they're like, how's it going, that movie? Anyway, they said, the fuck you did. And you're not going, and leave it alone. You don't know who he is. You don't have warrants on him. I'm like, I just got a bad feeling. So I decided I was going to go anyway and just do a citizen's whatever. But I got a hold of a Houston Fugitive Task Force, told them the whole story, and I'm shortening a lot of this. And I asked another trooper I got a Houston Fugitive Task Force on the phone, and I told them the whole story, and they was like, who is he? What's he wanted for? I said, here we go. I don't know, but I got a gut feeling. He says, let me call you back. So he calls me back, and he says, I talked to the lieutenant, sergeant, captain, whatever it was, and they said you're crazy. And I was like, okay, appreciate it. He said, oh, no, but we're going to do it. So they showed up. I set everything up, and they showed up at the date and time. I told them the car. I told them the plate number and all that, and they just jumped on him. I said, y'all be careful, because I don't know anything about this guy. And they called me back out of breath. They said, we got him. I was like, who do you got? And he was an America's Most Wanted child rapist who had escaped and been on the run for almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
With his victim just in fear for the rest of her life. He was a pastor for a church. They sold the church to bond him out of jail, and then he escaped, so the government took the church.
He was a pastor?
Yes.
And then it's not even, you see what the pastor caught me. Mm-hmm. But then the people who sold the church? His congregation?
The church mortgaged, the congregation mortgaged the church to get him bonded out.
That's the one that's
that is mind blowing.
That's crazy. I mean, how the people
and he was he's raping a 14-year-old girl in the church, and got away with it for a long time. But he's still in prison today. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison.
But what was the explanation for that? I mean, how the church? I mean, the people. What? So was it they saying he was lying, or what?
They believed him over the girl, but the jury convicted him. He was a rapist. He was raping children. And anyway, later he got caught. I don't know if the church regretted giving up because he escaped and ran away. But I would say that's one of my proudest moments as a trooper and as a law enforcement officer. As far as embarrassing moments, God, there's too many. I don't know. I guess the most embarrassing was I'm chasing a guy. I'm in pursuit, and he crosses. And I'm new to Louisiana at the time, and he crosses a bridge over there south of Sulphur. And I read the sign at 130 miles an hour, and they're like, "Where you at, D24?" And I said, "I just crossed the Chippewa Bayou Bridge." Just so you know, there's no Chippewa Bayou Bridge in Cameron Parish. It's called the Shoepick Bridge. Oh. Or the Shoepick Bayou Bridge. Anyway, so they all couldn't stop laughing at me. And anyway, so I guess that would be my most embarrassing radio moment with the state police. And and I guess that's the only, I don't think I can get arrested for the rest of them. So, but there's probably, I'm trying to think, there's a couple things that I did that I tell my academy cadets, but being a cop and a law enforcement officer, it is a dangerous job. And you pull over the wrong person at the wrong time, you're dead. If they want you, I'm SWAT. I'm good with a gun. I'm ready for war at all times. But if they want you, action's quicker than reaction, and they've got you. I started stopping outlaw motorcycle gang members, not on purpose. They just rode motorcycles, and I'm looking for drunk drivers. And I led I got the DWI award every year. I didn't care if you were in a car, motorcycle, whatever. Well, about 2% of the people that I arrested for drunk driving, 2% were on motorcycles. So it's basically none.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they all knew each other. And they got, and I think it was 4 total that I arrested. They were rode motorcycles. Turned out they all were in like the same motorcycle club. They started collecting intelligence on me and my family.
Oh, wow.
And they basically, the last guy that I arrested, he was the president of a local club. I won't say the club. I won't say the big club or the little club, but I'll say I arrested the president of this outlaw motorcycle club. And he let me know, I know where your daughter goes to school. I know everything about you, and we're watching. Then they started coming to my house every night at 2 o'clock in the morning, revving their motorcycle engines and taking off in bikes that couldn't be caught. I'm just at home trying to sleep, and they're letting me know that they're there, they know where I live, and intimidating me. And they did that for a while, and I knew the club that they were going to join, and it was a big one. And this is one of those clubs that it doesn't matter if you're a cop, FBI agent, whatever. You piss them off, and they think it's in their best interest to kill you, you're dead. They will kill you, and they might catch somebody and put somebody in prison for it, but they're fine with it. If you're that much of a risk to them, they're gonna put you in prison. They're gonna put you in the ground to protect their operation. Now, I arrested about 4 people for DWI and written about 5 or 6 speeding tickets and a couple of tickets for whatever. This is traffic. All right, traffic. Well, when I arrested the president, he had a list of every member in the big club locally and the little club and their phone numbers. And I think even some addresses. So when we arrested him and booked him, I got to make a copy of that. And we started going house to house to house to house. Next thing you know, with this big club, we've got 4 or 5, 6 people going to prison for decades. So now I'm getting the attention of the big dogs. And so I see the big, I'm not going to say what club it was, but I'll see the big dog. I see the group of large members in the big club, and I stop them for speeding, like 6 of them. But I only wanted to stop one because that's the only one that I had on my radar. Anyway, so he pulls over. Everybody else stopped. And I said, hey, y'all got to go. And they looked at me like I was stupid. They weren't going. They didn't go until who I found out very quickly on the back of his jacket as SOA, Sergeant of Arms. He is in charge. He was in charge of that. I thought I was in charge. He was in charge of that entire scene. And I said, and this is I'd say not my most embarrassing moment, but something that I felt that I just had to do. And I said to this, he told the other guys, go. And then they left, but they weren't leaving until he told them to. I couldn't tell them shit. So they left. I introduced myself. He said, I know exactly who you are. That I figured you did. And I went to my chain of command about the threats, and they said, sorry, but that's just part of being a cop. And I wasn't satisfied with that answer. So I decided I was going to protect myself. So I actually pulled this sergeant at arms. I said, we need to talk. And he said, okay, let's meet. And we met somewhere. He knows who he is if he ever listens to it. I'm not going to use his name either. But he had me meet him somewhere. 30 minutes later, he dropped his wife off, and he met me in a dark alley, basically. And I said, now, here's what I got to tell you. Your guys are going to prison, several of them, and they're going to prison because of me. He said, yes, I know we're going to prison. I said, do you know why? He said, you're coming after us. We're at war. I said, because they're coming to my house because I arrested a few of your guys that were riding their big dog choppers, $70,000 motorcycles. By the way, they work at the plant. Don't you guys? You guys are very successful men. They worked at the plants making 6 figures and were driving big dog choppers, and their wives were fucking school teachers. These were not outlaw motorcycle members. The big club that they were joining were. And I told the sergeant at arms, I said, this is why you're getting the attention. They're coming to a state trooper's house because I'm arresting them for DWI, 4 of them total, and writing some speeding tickets. And they're letting me know that they're untouchable. And so that's why you're getting what you're getting. So I got to ask you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms, protect your organization. I understand you may have to kill a cop one day. may be a tactical the tactically expedient thing for you. But do you really think it's worth it for DWIs and traffic tickets? And he looked at me and said, no, it's not. I didn't know that. I had no idea. He said, Trooper Thompson, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. And we shook hands and left. That was on a Friday night. Tuesday night, same thing at my house. Motorcycles acting a fool. Let me know that they know where I live and that they can get to me anytime they want to. And I was furious until I got a call the following Saturday. So that Tuesday, they did that at my house. Friday, they had the meeting with the big dogs. They depatched them. And the guy that did it went into the meeting bragging about, I went to that trooper's house and that bitch couldn't catch me. And he knows we fucking with him and blah, blah, blah. He went and bragged about it. This is what I was told. I got this word from another trooper who said, I don't know why I'm giving you this message, but I got to give you this message. Anyway, he went and bragged at the meeting about it. And they said, we're sorry that it happened again. And he'll get out of the hospital when they unwire his jaw. And the gang disappeared. In fact, I'm not going to tell that part of the story.
You know what? Let's lighten the load a little.
Okay, lighten it up a little bit.
Let's switch it to aviation.
Okay.
To aviation. Learn how to fly a plane, and then now you're in a position of teaching people how to fly a plane. What is the most, thing that you enjoy the most about teaching people how to drive planes?
Watching their eyes light up, giving somebody the opportunity to do something that they never thought they could do. By the way, since we last saw each other, my wife is now a private pilot and got her license. So, teaching somebody something that, like I said, that and the challenge, because when you get in a plane with somebody who doesn't know how to fly a plane, they're trying to kill you. They're not doing it on purpose, but they're trying, they're sitting there trying to figure it out, and they're trying to kill you. And you stay calm and, show them how to do it. And next thing you know, you get to see these people go off to the airlines and make all this money and fly all over the world. And it just opens up so many great opportunities.
So is it safe to assume that you are the one that taught your wife how to fly a plane, right?
Most of it. I had some help with other instructors, but yeah.
So do you feel comfortable to give it a key and go to sleep in a plane at, 5, 8, 10,000 miles up in the air and go to sleep and feel like, okay, she got it, she can take off and land?
Yes. I don't put anybody in a plane that I train to fly that send them for their license without being able to put my family in the plane with them or myself. Because I feel like I'm putting them, I'm saying, oh, go do this. And, I've never had a student of mine get hurt. That I've trained in the, but it's statistically, there's a good chance it's going to happen. We trained a lot of people, but absolutely. If I'm not comfortable sending my kid with them or my wife with them, I'm not going to send. I don't want them in the airplane.
What you just say caught my attention. So you said when you're teaching somebody on a plane, so when they knew, it's kind of like they're trying to kill you. Let's say, for instance, somebody froze, and like sometimes you can froze in something, and you just holding this. So can you just knock him out? And what would you do to just...
I have not knocked anybody out before, but now I do have to be prepared to elbow them very, very hard, like to get them to let go, because I've had one guy, he just locked up and he was stronger than me and I couldn't. And I'm like, finally I got enough force to be able to raise the nose because he was just going to fly straight into the ground. And but I haven't had to hit somebody in the face yet. But I've definitely hit him in the arm.
but you got to think about it though, like in a sense, like you're teaching people how to fly. Like you said, part of it that you really enjoy is seeing people their mind being blown about doing something they never thought they could do. But also, people will freeze up when they're doing something they never thought they would do. How you as the instructor approach that? Like you said, do you approach it, especially whenever you're doing it for the first time with somebody? Do you gotta get some, like on the ground, gotta give them some sort of a brief before y'all get up there? Or maybe you just like prep your mind saying, okay, let me get that elbow ready in case you're not listening. Is that the way you approach it?
Well, you gotta just pile on the stress just a little bit at a time. So the first thing I'll allow a student to do is we get about 50 foot off the runway. I do the takeoff, and then I tell them, all I need you to do right now is keep the wings level. Whether it's a yoke or a stick, you just look out the window and keep the wings level. And that's very, very simple. The throttle's handled, the pitch is handled, the rudders are handled. And then as they handle that, then we just start adding more and more stress to the point where I'm literally trying to make small talk to distract them. Or we're flying along, and after I get comfortable and I feel like they're confident, I did it to my wife a bunch of times to the point where she was like, okay, here we go again. I just pull the throttle. I shut the engine down. And, the engine's still running, but I just pull the throttle back. I'm like, you lost your engine. And so you got to know what to do, and luckily we did that because she took her license check, and I didn't do this to her, but on her, she's climbing out at a low altitude, and the check ride examiner, the guy who sees, gives her a license and makes sure I did my job properly, he yanked the throttle back on a low altitude climb out, and she naturally pushed the nose forward, which is not the instinct. You think, oh, there's a problem, pull up. If you pull up, you're dead. So she hits the nose, lowers the nose down, gets her airspeed, and looks for a place to land with no engine. And he's like, oh, that's right. That's exactly how you do it. But, but for me and for any instructor watching, I teach people to skydive. And in skydiving in free fall, you can't hear. So we just give hand signals on the ground. There's like check your arms, relax, straighten your legs, pull your parachute. That's pretty much all of them. There's a couple more, but there's none of them that say, none of my hand signals say don't do something. None of them. So if you operate on the mentality where you're training cops, skydivers, or pilots, tell them what to do. Tell them what they should be doing. And if you say, don't go too slow, or don't do that, or don't, nobody wants to hear that. Just remind them what they're supposed to be doing, and that'll get them to learn a lot faster and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm scared of playing it. It's just like, I don't know. I remember you telling me the story, like, she was so scared of airplane, and now she's, she got a license, maybe, but I don't know. The fear that I have, like, for you to just kill the engine, you kill me too. I'm thinking at the same time, and I think I'll just pass out.
But I feel like it's the way you approach it, honestly. Like I said, of course, I don't know, like, nothing at all about flying a plane, but the first time I actually got to be in a plane when I had access to the pilot was when I flew with Derek Gidget. I kind of told you about that story. And the one thing that I know for me that kept me at ease is because he was at ease himself. Like, he felt like when he was talking to us, he felt like he was in control. He knew what he was doing. And it's kind of like when you're in a situation with somebody, I'm sure with an instructor, you can tell me, hey, I've done this, I've done that. Gazillions of people how to fly. I got this. That will put me at ease. Like, even if I just say, hey, point the nose straight down, and then about 200 feet away, pull it, I'll trust it. I'll stay calm enough to trust it because I'm like, okay, this guy got to know what he's doing. And when I had the experience to fly with Guidry, like, he wasn't amazing. Like, even though he was panicking, but me personally, I felt like, oh my God. Like, and I've always wanted to do that. Like, he can tell you, I've always kind of brought it up, but it's kind of one of those things when you bring it up and the people that's close to your family members shut it down to where you're like, okay, those people care about me. They care about my safety and well-being. Maybe if they say something, you tend to actually listen. But that's something I've always wanted to do, and that's when I got a chance to meet you. I took your call, and I'm like, hey, you're going to be hearing from me soon, too. I'm going to stop by your business and see how we can schedule this whole thing, because that is something I am genuinely interested in doing. That's like a bucket list, like a check on my bucket list. I can actually finally check.
Well, I do have a confession to make about your safety. I don't care about your safety. I'm saving my own life. When you're trying to kill me, I'm worried about me. Okay, so
I don't blame you on that, but it's just like, but the thing with Derek Gidry, I think he was too calm.
Yes, and that's what kept me
just
calm.
He's just like, we went out of gas. I think, we just went out. The thing just come out. Oh, we're out of gas. I think we can make it. What you mean? Like, he's just like, I'm freaking. I mean, like, the engine light come on, like.
Yeah, I think the engine light came on. He was like, oh man, we might need some gas. He said, I might have to stop in the rear. He said, man, I think we can make it. I'm like, no, what the fuck you mean, no?
I'm just saying, it was the level of confidence he got. It was
like, he was really calm. Like, he was really, really, really calm. And
it was fun, but no,
I'm sorry, but Derek is a natural. He's not your normal pilot. He just gets it. He feels it. And feeling is something very hard to teach. It takes time. But Derek got in the plane. He was like, he just happy and good at it. And some people, equipment operators, business owners, some of them just are super, super fast. And Derek has the combination of confidence and just natural ability and happiness, and he make anybody calm. He could be on the Titanic and that bitch is going down, and everybody would be happy. Like, we're fine. Derek said we're fine. Yeah,
he got that demeanor about
Yeah,
him.
He does have that demeanor, cool and
Yeah,
approachable
just
about
like-
him, though, like that,
yeah,
which is a
he's-
good thing.
I flew with Derek many times. I went to Houston to pick up one of his airplanes when he bought it, and he flew it back. And I mean, day one, and just he
I think, like
understands
me,
it.
I'm a fast learner, so I learn really fast. But I think I feel like I can get on the plane with you and you tell me to do this, this, and that, and I can guarantee you I can do it. But the thing is, how do I bypass this fear that I have? I think that was I would probably focus more on the being scared in the moment than just trying to focus on actually do the plane thing. To me, it's just like, I don't have to be up there. She's like, I don't have to fly a plane. I mean, you know what I mean? I just don't see I don't see the benefit. The only thing is, if I ever try to do this, it's just on peer pressure. It's not something, I'm not supposed to do that. That's not me at all. So because he keeps saying that, eventually when he keeps telling you this, and this and that, and eventually if you do it, then peer pressure, I'm gonna do it. So how am I supposed to overcome that fear just to get on the other side?
But before
of it?
you answer that question, there's something you actually said. Certain people, you just tell them straightforward, hey, go learn how to bowl. You'll never learn how to be a flight attendant. Or fly like a.
I think that's a good idea.
But let me ask you this: do you, with him saying all that, do you get that sort of vibe off of him? He's one of those guys that needs to just stick to bowling.
No, it just comes down to, if you want it, you want it, but you're not really going to know you want it until you do it. Because your fear, you have a fear of flying or a fear of heights?
No, fear of flying.
Okay. But you've never flown.
I mean, like, do it myself? Or
Exactly. You've been in the back of an airplane. Just because you rode somewhere in a boat don't mean you went swimming. All right? So you haven't
That's
flown
good.
shit, pardon my French.
Yeah, you good.
All right? So until you actually do it and you're in control of that plane, you won't know whether you love it or not. And when you love it, yeah, forget about it. I mean, look, I'm not gay, but a flight hour is a flight hour. That's my motto. Once you love it, you're going to do anything you can to get in that airplane.
Hey, man.
I'm going to put that on a T-shirt.
I think you should.
But I can see that, because I always put that in my head. Maybe like, if the minute I know how to do it, maybe that would alleviate the fear that I have. Maybe like, I feel like confident, maybe like not scared no more. But I feel like it's just like the chances. Like, I always thinking like, stay on even though I'm very optimistic kind of guy. I never really focus on the negative side. Him is more like see that on the negative side of everything. Me, I see that more on the positive side. So, but when it comes to airplane, all I think about is, it's just like, if some shit happen, it's just like the chances of surviving. It's just, this is it.
Chances of surviving and learning to fly are very, very high. Our planes stall at 41 knots. With a headwind, you'll hit at 25 knots. You can hit anything and be fine with it. A lot of the planes we fly, even after you learn to fly, we have a parachute for the whole plane. You can pull the parachute and you just come down and land. But just because, and usually when something bad happens, it's a bad decision. If you decide you want to fly on ice without the proper training or equipment, you're dead. You decide you want to fly into a thunderstorm, you're dead. For instance, we just opened up a new flight school in Owensboro, Kentucky. There was no flight school there for well over a year, and the reason for that was because they had a crash and 2 people died tragically. Prior to the death, one of the instructors was, and this is all over the world. As far as YouTube, it's got God knows how many views. It's called Death by Time Builder. Our instructors love what we do. If you don't, go fly somewhere, go work somewhere else. We treat our students with respect, dignity, no matter what their level is, and how much commitment they have. We're here for them. Anyway, this particular school, they had an instructor filming the student on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, and making derogatory comments about how stupid he was.
Oh.
And then they took off, and the instructor, who's in charge of that flight, flew them into a thunderstorm, and it caused a fatal crash. They both died. So that flight school operation shut down. Anyway, I was up there training somebody to fly a French-made aircraft. I fly all over the USA and parts of Central America, Mexico, teaching people how to fly this type of aircraft. Anyway, this is one of the airports I went to, and they said, hey, we need a flight school here, but this is what happened. So anyway, we've opened up there. But generally, it's you can make a bad decision anytime. You know, a hurricane's coming, you choose to stay here. There's projecting a 14-foot, surge of water, and you stay, your life is in danger. And you look out the window and you look at the weather forecast and see that there's thunderstorms and microbursts and lightning and stuff like that. There's a good chance you're going to die.
But okay, so let me ask you this: so is there any situation that you can look at the weather and then Mother Nature choose to be different, and then what you do in a situation like that?
Experience and training. It's happened to me a million times. The weather forecast says something and something else happens.
But how do you train somebody for that, though? I'm sure whenever you're teaching somebody, it's like clear sky and sunny days, and and I'm sure under those circumstances, they can be like the greatest pilot you ever seen. But let's just say, like he was saying, and it's one of those days where the wind decided to be some crazy stuff. The weather is crazy. How do you prep them for that?
I treat it and I prep them for it. Like I hope I told my wife this. You're coming in to land the plane. That's the hardest part. We push it for the last. You warm up like you're getting ready to fight, because either one of you box. I don't box, but
I'm a fan of it, but I don't box.
All right, but you can't tell a boxer, okay, go in and go left, right, throw this combination. It's going to work. You never know what's going to get thrown at you by that other boxer. And the weather, you can see he worked out. You can see he's training. If it's Mike Tyson, probably, and
that's it.
Not a good idea to get in the ring with him. The Iron Man. If anybody tells me anybody other than Iron Mike is the best boxer in the history of boxing, we're going to fight. But anyway, Mike's going to be a problem. That's your massive thunderstorm. Okay, you're not going to go into that. But the rest of it, you have to roll with the punches and make decisions based on what's coming at you. And the hardest decision for pilots to make is to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this flight. I'm going to stay on the ground because of this weather, or I'm going to turn around and go somewhere else. Because so many times they're like, I really think I can make it.
They feel the need to be challenged, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, they're like, well, nothing's happened before, so I made it so many times before, so I'll make it this time.
See, that's I feel like the minute I built confidence,
you don't feel like confident enough to fly through it, in a sense.
Yeah, I'm this kind of guy.
Confidence could be is definitely the enemy in a lot of things: law enforcement, flying airplanes, skydiving, pushing the envelope. It kills. It's a killer for sure.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think doing this is like there's no risk. The risk level is
sitting on the couch. Yeah, you're in a safe place
all day. You know what I mean? I feel like I really don't have to. That's to me. It's just like.
But I feel like
I got
it's
a feeling
a skill.
I'm going to do it.
I feel like it's a skill, though, in a sense. Like there's certain things in life, growing up, whatever it may be, I've always wanted to learn them. I've always felt like, oh my God, it's so cool to see that person being able to do that. And right now, as I'm looking at it, it may seem like rocket science, but there's a part of me that's like interested in learning it too, to where it can be simple for me also. And flying was always one of them. And like I said, years before I even met you, that's something I've always preached them. Man, I really want to learn how to fly a plane or whatever. But certain people who got that fear that's greater than anything else, to where like they don't even dare going for it. Because like earlier throughout this year, they had like a lot of plane crashes. And I remember my partner at the time, she was like, man, you know what? We're not going to be going anywhere like for the next 6, 7, 8 months because, planes are crashing left and right. But you can tell, of course, by somebody saying, and I'm sure you, who's somebody who's like someone who's like such an expert in the matter, and I'm sure when you heard these news, those things never bothered you at all. But whenever you're looking at someone who's like the knowledge within that field, they're always going to look at it differently. They're always going to tend to think, oh my God, planes are crashing left and right. I need to stay off planes, stay away from planes for a second. but let's just say like someone who approached you as a student, they actually want to learn how to fly a plane, and then they got all those stories, or hey, I had a best friend that died in a plane crash, some crazy stuff like that. How do you approach it as an instructor from the mental point of view? Because I'm sure you can do the technical part, you know all that like the back of your hand. But how do you approach it differently in a mental point of view? Like when you got somebody who may have like a bad history or perhaps a bad experience with planes.
If they really want to do it, it's like you. You can't really teach overcoming fear. You have to experience overcoming fear. You can't teach the feeling of even free fall with your body. I can tell you, you got to drop this knee and drop this elbow to do a turn or whatever, drive forward, but you got to feel that. And overcoming fear is you have to feel it. And like for example, I had a guy. He came in and he decided he wanted to be an airline pilot before he took his first flight. And he came in. His name's Chris Monk. If you're watching, Chris, I'm going to brag about you. Chris Monk came in and he did not do well at first. He had actually went to other schools and wasn't doing well at all. And he heard about us. And so we started flying with him, but he didn't pick it up very quickly. And he had to overcome a lot of fears and anxiety and so forth. I had an ER doctor who is, it took him forever to get over being scared in the pattern and being scared to land. It just takes time and exposure. After a while, you'll get used to it. And anyway, so those people, if you just stay with it, be encouraging, don't push them too hard. Say, hey, that's enough. My wife has had to tell me, hey, that's enough. I need this load taken off or whatever. And I just need to focus on XYZ, or I would see that that's all that he or she or whatever can handle. And then give them the time to overcome that fear, and then they overcome that fear, and then they really start learning. Anyway, Chris Monk flies Lear jets for corporate and multimillionaires, the guy that I was talking about, and doing amazing. That ER doctor that I was talking about, he flies his family all over the USA and is doing and is a wonderful pilot. But he just had to slow things down. And you have to approach it. We have to approach it. All of our instructors have to approach it as we're not here for if you come to me and instruct, this is the way I do things. That's not how it is. We figure out how you need it, and that's what we adjust fire for.
So, but let me ask you this. So let's say right now, what I'm listening to you talking, and we've been talking. It's not the first time you come here, and then I was like, man, every time you speak, I'm convincing I want to do it. But let's say I say, Steve, I feel like when I want to do it, and then he was like, okay, all right. Well, let's say for instance, you got James as an instructor. All right, James, stick with them with you. I think I'm not gonna do it. I feel like because you make me feel comfortable, and for me to do it, I feel like he got to be you. So if you transfer me to somebody else, I'm not gonna have that level of confidence on that person to do the exact same job that you would do. So how you evaluate that somebody comes like, I don't want nobody else. I want Steve to do it.
I do get a lot of that, and I do what I can to train to train the people that just want to train with me. My wife just wanted to train with me, but it was impossible. She was never going to finish if I didn't get some help because I have all these other obligations. So start with me, and then fill in and have other instructors that'll build your confidence. But I think our first flight we should fly to Skydive Spaceland, land, and then jump out of the plane.
Wait, what time out?
Hey, I feel like Steve for some reason, like when I hear him speaking, I just got that ease. Like I feel like maybe I can do it because like, he's not somebody that's just like he got that not even the 10,000 hours. It's like he got that 100,000 hours on he know what he's doing. So to me, I just feel like there's nothing you say, hey man, let's go fly, and then you just skydive. Even though I would hate it, I feel like because you right there. I think I'll do it.
But no, interesting enough, I'm going to be reaching out to you soon because that's both things I want to learn. And like he was saying, having the chance to speak with somebody that actually teaching that thing, and then you so calm, and like you said, you've done put not just 10,000 hours within it, you probably got like 100,000 hours deep within it, probably even more than that. So,
100,000 hours of flying?
Yeah.
I did my first flight in 2016.
But that's what I'm saying.
But I only have 5,200
But
hours.
in a sense, from 2016 till now, seeing how comfortable you are with it, it simplified though in my mind. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like this thing that in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like you just got to be somebody that's had to do it for a gazillion years to be so perfect at it. And then yet I got somebody sitting right across from me, and it's like, I only been doing this since 2016. It's not as complicated as you think. It's easy and all this. It's kind of like I get comfort within your comfort, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's why, like me personally, like I said, you're gonna be hearing from me soon. I'm interested in. I've even told people about it, and of course, I know I'm gonna get the negative. Dude, what the hell is wrong with you? But I'm okay with it. I've even told people, man. Cause somebody was vacuuming my car the other day, and I still had your card in there, and I told them when I got back, I'm like, oh shit, that dude vacuumed my card. Like I literally had to get them to open the freaking thing at Dawn. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I had to get them to open the thing and get that card back, and I took a picture of it to make sure I didn't lose it. And the thing is, I was waiting to call you because you were telling me how busy you'd be. And I'm like, okay, let me wait for I guess both our schedule open up a little bit, at least mine, so I can reach out to you and see how we can schedule it. But
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, you need to
genuinely,
schedule that flight.
I'm genuinely interested in reaching out to you. But just to cut things short a little bit, let's just say you've walked with all kind of different path of life, from being in the military to being an elite trooper to being a skydiving instructor to a flight instructor to a police academy instructor. You've had all sort of different walk of life.
And the teacher.
And a teacher, that's what I'm saying. A teacher at McNeese teaching the new generation of police officers. Let's just say if you had a chance to go back and speak with that kid living in what you call it, a trailer house with no skirt?
trailer park with no skirt.
Yeah, let's just say if you had a chance to speak with that kid, what would you tell him?
Start a business, fight for the weak, and I really and travel more. I don't know. I the life that I've lived, I've actually loved it.
But that's the thing, though. I don't think that kid knows that. As you saying, like you had it tough growing up.
And I think that part of it just made me who I am, and it gave me the drive to want to be something more than what I was, and being dismissed as insignificant for your entire childhood, we'll say, that was rough, and feeling like you're never going to be anything in life, and then you join the military, and next thing you know, everybody's green. Don't matter if you're from a trailer park. Don't matter what color your skin is. You work hard, get promoted. I mean, I was an E5 in 2.5 years. I got 4 promotions in 2.5 years, and went to every school known to man, and really felt like I was in a meritocracy where what you did and how your performance mattered. And then I got to the state police, and it was not that. I got every chance I get to throw. Colonel Mike Edmondson took over the state police while I was there, and he was a despicable thief, piece of garbage human being that drove the agency into the ground ethically, injected it with a poison that they are still trying to overcome from his corruption. Mike Edmondson, if you didn't hear that the first time. And anyway, but yeah, if you work hard and and put your mind to something, you can accomplish any goal you want to. And that's what I've done, and I'm still trying. I've got new goal. When I hit one goal, I'm
Well,
got
so
another
let
one.
me rephrase the question a different way for you to see. Like, so let's say right now you got somebody a kid in the trailer park with no skirts watching this podcast, and what would you tell them?
And that's a hard one. I wasn't ready for that question because I'd say take your sister and your brother and get out. Do whatever it takes to get out. Get away from your parents, because that's the biggest regret that I have in my life is not protecting my sister from the things that happened to her. It happened to both of us, but I'm just lucky that I'm a boy, and these pedophiles did not like little boys. They only like. So that would be the most important thing, which is why me and my wife to this day we fund a safe house in Europe to remove underage girls from human trafficking, because my I couldn't protect my sister as a child. I know that But as an adult, I grew into that. And even though I know rationally that I couldn't do anything with that, I tell, hey, get out, take them, get out, work hard, no matter what. And, you can prevent those things that would happen to her, not to me. I mean, I can deal with I still got scars on my hands from the cigarettes and burns, and the cigarettes burns in the back of my neck from strange men that my mother brought into the house that were allowed to do whatever they wanted to us, as long as they brought drugs in.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, I watched you watched that movie like kind of like when you say that the Sound of Freedom, the Sound of Freedom.
I've watched it, yes.
Yes, I listen to him on the podcast. It's kind of like listen to you saying the same thing. That's what he's doing. He spent a lot of money saving those people.
Well, that's why we go there too. My wife and I both have been to the safe house, and it's in Ukraine. It's called Nashi, which Nashi is Russian for hours, and we're talking about our girls. And there's 17 of them, and they're pulled out of human trafficking or diverted from human trafficking, given a home, protected. We got a security guy. That's a BAMF. Can I say?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can.
He and then we have a mother, Maria, and her husband Bogdan, who these girls are protected. But it's more like it's not an orphanage; it's a family. We're really proud to be a part of that, and we go there. And if anybody wants to get into it, it's run in Canada. It's nashi.ca, nashi.canada, and NASHI. And we try to go every year. We'll go back again this year for their their annual fundraiser. I was the keynote speaker a couple of years ago for it, and but if the things that happened to us wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be involved in stuff like that. When I see stuff like that, I was like, hey, how can we help? How can we make this world a better place? Because I have a personal motto that you're born with gifts, and it's up to you what to do with them, and you have the obligation to your fellow man to help others who can't help themselves.
Yeah, even though when I watched the movie and I was listening to him on the podcast, it's crazy to see can't believe that they even have those people, and you'd be surprised. The numbers are extravagant. It's a lot of people that's into these kind of things, and to me, it just make no sense whatsoever. But it's a big business. I think it's $150 billion a year business.
It is, but here's where I had a problem with human trafficking and how it's handled. So. Yes, it's a big business. If you're rich, if you're a pedophile and you want to fly to Europe and have a 5-year-old child, it's going to happen. Thailand, Spain, Ukraine, several countries. It's there. India, whatever you want. But a lot of people can't afford to do that. But let's turn it to in the USA, and you want to do that in the USA. Moms are selling their kids for $50. You provide enough drugs, and they provide access to these people. So that's a form of human trafficking that's not as glamorous as the movies, but that's the world we live in. And it's not a big business. It's just a parent who's not doing anything. And the cops were at our house all the time and never did anything. My friend, our friend J.C. Dugard, she was kidnapped and held in captivity for 18 years, and the law enforcement and probation parole visited that home where she was held and raped and sexually tortured 63 times and never saw her and never did anything.
They saw her?
Yes. Not every time. She was locked in a Connex a lot of the times in the backyard. He had an ankle monitor on. He was all over the backyard in this big compound area. They never went back there and said, I wonder what's in this Connex. And then they see this young girl right there, and probation parole doesn't. They're like, hey, you better not say nothing or we'll kill you. And then he raped her so many times. At 14, she had her first child. 16, she had her second with her abductor. And then he told her, he said, if you tell the police who you really are, your kids are gone. The only thing she had to love in the world. So she sets up a tent in the backyard and starts teaching her babies school. And by the time they get rescued, which they weren't really rescued, she rescued herself. She saved herself. When they get discovered, these kids are on reading grade level. I forgot what ages they were, 13, 14 years old when they were discovered. and now they're attending college in Europe. JC's got a great house, a great place in the Sonoma Valley in California. We went and visited. I mean, but it's not just this underground network of buying children and kidnapping and stuff like that. Moms are doing it too, or just somebody local taking them. And so I tell these cops, like, hey, you got to pay attention to that. You see a kid with that wrong look in their eyes or whatever's going on, pay attention. And I'll be damned if we weren't walking through the airport coming back from Key West and TSA goes up and says, hey, little boy, what's your name? And who is she? And he's looking confused, like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, come up here, Daniel. It's our son, Daniel. I said, this man is trying to make sure that this is your mom and I'm your father and making sure that you're safe. And this is a good man. He's a TSA guy. And that's all it takes. Just pay attention. The hair on the back of your neck stands up. Listen to it and fucking do something. That's what it takes.
And that's great, and that's great, and thank you for doing that because to me, it's just like in a sense, it's kind of like I can't believe it, but it's actually happening because I don't think people would have that level of evil, but sometimes this world we live in is very evil. There's a lot of people they doing things just like they don't make any sense to me, but people like you doing something about it and then helping and thank you for doing that. And maybe like saving. Maybe you can't change the world. You can't save everybody, but I'm pretty sure the people that you actually help, and I think that's really like good enough in a sense because these people needed saving. Even though maybe get 100 millions more, they need that. But I mean, but if you can do it, you would. But everything you do, every one person at a time, as long as you can change somebody's life, I think that's a great thing.
My friend Savelia in Canada, who's the president of NASHI, the organization that runs a safe house in Europe for the underage girls, she said she's got a motto. She says, it's just simply this: everybody can do something. Every good person on this planet can do something, and that's what we need. Just something.
Yeah, kind of to reiterate in what you just said, we all need to do something. Like I know they got some people who just want to go out there and do their good deeds of the day or whatever. And hearing about your story about how your upbringing and also it makes sense as of why you care so much about the same kind of thing happening to other people around the world because to an extent you lived it yourself. So in a sense, I guess for my part, thank you because it's kind of rare to find good person in people. Like at the end of the day, as human being, nobody's perfect. But whenever you got somebody for sure that's doing one good thing or one great thing, I feel me personally the need to at least thank them for it because that's not something you had to do. You didn't have to do none of that, but you chose to do it nonetheless. But for my part, I don't know if you got any more questions, but to conclude things for my part,
is there anybody that you got any like with for people if they wanna join the class and let them know the people somebody's watching that would like to get aviation. So
flight training, yes. So we're in Lake Charles, we're in DeRidder, and we're in Beaumont. We're in Orange, Texas. We're kind of in Southland Field, but we're suing the Southland Field Airport for a lot of illegal stuff that I believe that they've done, and hopefully we'll be up there and operate more operational soon. But just they receive millions of dollars in your tax dollars every year, and they've decided not to allow anyone to compete with their friend. And they fought me on that for a year. I finally won that fight, but anyway, we do have a loss. My company has had to file a lawsuit against Southland Field, and that's going through the courts now. So, but we'll be there soon. We'll be there with a greater presence soon enough once that litigation gets straightened out. And then
you got a website and a phone number?
Website, rocksolidaviation.com. Phone numbers all over it. Emails are all over it. My wife runs that operation. And if you call, text, email, whatever, we're going to be on it. We want to take care of you. So we have a kind of a new motto, which is your dream is our dream. Helping people achieve their dreams. It's what we love to do. And getting people in the sky. It's it's amazing.
That's his dream, but
that's my dream. Like I said, you should be hearing from me.
That's not my dream,
pretty
but,
soon. Because like I said,
that's his dream. So
but no, not right now. Having the opportunity, because honestly, I feel blessed right now, sitting across someone that's put so much confidence within me. Because like usually when I got this dream, I bring it up. Literally everybody within my world just shoot it down instantly. And having a chance to speak with somebody that does it for a living, who's more comfortable with it, who know what they're talking about, kind of put some sort of inspiration in my heart to it. Now I kind of want to go even further with it. But like I said, I got your card in the future. We should be.
I just think about it. He might be the one killing me, bro. I'm telling you. For some reason, I just have that feeling. He might. Anyway, because at the end of the day, if he's going, I'm going. So I feel like eventually.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our founder. Not our founder, the person we named the flight school after. Rock Palermo was one of my flight instructors. He taught me how to fly a lot. We got our flight instructor ratings together, and then he tragically passed away in a plane crash. I think it was 2021. I think it was 2021, right after me and my. Anyway, we named Rock Solid Aviation after him, Rock Palermo. But he inspired more people to achieve great things in life and put people in the sky than. He was our Superman, so that's why this company is named what it is, and we're very proud of that. His family is proud of that. Of course, I got their permission to name it after him, and he was actually instructing, and anyway, had a catastrophic failure of the airplane that he was flying that went down in the marsh back then. So,
I'm sorry to hear that,
But thank you so much for coming to the show, man.
Yeah, honestly, like it would been a pleasure. That's the beauty of us doing this thing. We get the chance of sitting across from people from all kind of different walk of life, and then we get to open their brain and see what they thinking, how they think, how bring like literally started from way back to where they are now, and then hopefully, because I know me sitting right here, it inspires me. So hopefully, people who's gonna be sitting at home on their phone, on YouTube, on their tablet, watching this podcast can be inspired as well.
I mean, this is not gonna be the last time we have you on the show because we got a lot of
we got cases. We got some DWIs to talk about and we got some court
cases. So definitely looking forward to talk about those another time in the podcast. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's a wrap. And also follow, like, share, subscribe, and also feel the need. If y'all got any questions, y'all can always write them down in the comment section.
All right,
and that's it.